Hello there and welcome to the live stream. It's the first time I've been streaming in about, I think 3 months, and certainly the first time publicly on YouTube, at least in this studio. So the point of today's stream is just to get back into the flow of my weekly regular live streams, which, as I say, have been on a bit of a hiatus. But the reason why I've been a bit absent is because I've been busy behind the scenes doing other things, such as building out the new studio, building out some new pillar content that I'm going to be rolling out over the next quarter and into next year, and kind of doing a bit of restructuring of the business, really, of Take One Tech in terms of the Digital Stage Academy and some of the other product offerings I've got. But I digress. The point of this is to give you a bit of a tour of the studio space that I've built out as it stands at the moment. Still not quite finished. There's always more to do, and certainly some things that were planned that have not yet been implemented. So I'll talk through some of those as well. Hey George, hey Stephen, great to see you in the chat, and of course Rich at Brandy Joe in the chat as well. Great to see you here too. So let's just talk through the sort of idea behind this, because obviously you've been used to seeing me sort of from here up, probably sitting at my desk. So first of all, let's just confirm I do actually have legs. I am a little bit more mobile than may have been evident from all of my previous videos. Doc Rock always used to kind of joke that I was basically motionless, and part of that was because when I started out on YouTube 4.5, 5 years ago, whatever it was, I was using a green screen. So I was doing my best to kind of not give away the green screen thing so much. So that is, if you can, first of all, have a shaved head, that's step number one. But step two is stay pretty still, and people don't tend to notice the virtual background. But anyway, the point of building this studio space is that as I've been doing more and more sort of virtual events, and I want to bring more of the sort of live event feel to the events that I am doing, whether those are webinars, whether they're full-on workshops, or multi-day events, or whether it is speaking at other people's events. I come from a background previous to setting up my YouTube channel. I was used to, before the pandemic, standing on stages and talking to people, and that is feels much more natural to me. The ability to kind of move around on a stage and use that as part of telling a story. So you would typically, if you're going to be talking about things in the past, you would move over to stage right for us, so backwards on the stage for you watching, and then as you start moving into talking about the future, moving forward, if you want to sort of step out of the story, being able to step forward, it's all part of the sort of stagecraft, really, that you would do if you were on an actual stage. The other thing about it is having some space where you can have content that's up on the screen. You can come and refer to it, you can move away from it, you can move over to some other content, have things on there. There's a technique when you are putting up content, if you want things to stick in people's mind, having the bullet points or whatever it is on the screen there, and just allowing them to sort of remain in the background, even though they may be less of a focus, they're just there to sort of help people embed that information into their mind. So that was really my thought process behind building this studio out. And at the moment, it is all being controlled pretty much by 5 Stream Deck pedals. There's one probably just out of shot just here, as he says, kicking it further away. Here we go. If I bend down, it'll follow me, won't it? So there's a Stream Deck pedal there. Now, in the events that I've been doing, obviously, all the things that I've been talking about before with this idea of immersive presentations, it's where we're using the screen real estate to its full advantage, and you can have information that comes up on screen. Funnily enough, I haven't actually set up any on-screen graphics for this particular stream, but the sorts of things that I've talked about before with little graphics that would just pop up from the bottom or out from the side. And traditionally I would use Keynote for that, and I use Keynote's live video feature. I'm still doing everything through Ecamm, of course, so you're seeing me through an OBSBot Tail 2 camera with its auto tracking feature. And that is going through Ecamm, but I can also send that through Keynote before going into Ecamm to have all sorts of on-screen graphics. And that still is something that I did during the recent event. You might see the logo up here for the Freedom Formula. This was the first event that I ran from this studio a few weeks ago. But it was a combination of actually 3 instances of Keynote. So the main computer was just doing everything that I already do, with having the on-screen graphics, little things that pop out from the side with bullet points or whatever we want to have on there, little section titles and things coming up at the bottom. But then there is this other added thing of being able to have content that comes up on these screens. So the pedal in front of me, the purpose of that is to basically advance the slides for the on-screen graphics, the ones that you're just going to see overlaid over the top of me. So I had the center button here was to get back to my sort of Keynote scene in Ecamm with its Keynote overlay, and then we could just sort of go forwards and backwards through that on-screen content. And then over here, I've got 3 different pedals. And the purpose of these is, first of all, this screen can show a number of things. It's set up to show slides, first of all, so you can just have like a regular slide deck. So if I press this button here, it's just going to advance to the next slide. By the way, I've left the scene deliberately wide here, but actually during the event, it was kind of zoomed in a little bit. So people who knew what they were looking for would have seen me maybe moving my legs around a little bit, but basically the pedals were kind of just out of shot. But this allows you to then sort of control what is up on this screen. So we've got basically a pedal in the middle, which is going to take us to the eCam scene that is basically sharing Keynote, just full screen, and then we can project eCam onto any monitor. So eCam being obviously the live production software that I use. And that has an ability to use the video monitor feature so that you can run eCam on this second computer, and then the video monitor is set to this screen, and so whatever scene I've got set up in eCam can come onto this screen. So in this instance, it would be the Keynote scene that's just sharing basically Keynote running on that computer. eCam is then sharing that up to this screen, and I can just sort of move through the slide. So one button here to go to that scene in eCam, and then another one to sort of scroll through these slides. Now what I can also do is I've also got another button. I'm playing around with my my scenes and workflow. I need 1 or 2 more pedals, I think, but this enables me to give sort of a zoomed in shot of the slides, whatever I'm talking about, and I can just sort of advance through them like this. But then what you can also do, if I just sort of zoom out for a second, what you can also do is then on these other pedals, I can change the scene in eCam to bring up other things. So for example, right now we've got the Zoom backstage going, and that has also been joined by my other instance of Zoom or eCam on the other computer. And so using eCam for Zoom, we can actually pull out the active speaker and have them up here as well. So having a scene for active speaker means that I can just press the button and they will come up on here as well. Then we've also got a couple of other scenes that I had set up. Actually, I didn't use them in the live event because there was a lot of moving parts, and for the first run I thought, well, I won't try all the toys first time round. But using something like Streamer Live. So Streamer Live is this sort of audience interaction tool which allows you to ask where people are calling from, and whenever they type in their location, it can pop up on the screen with their physical location on a map, for example. So having that sort of content, being able to put that up on this screen as well, or running polls and so on, can come up here. Same with any videos that you want to play or anything like that. So basically these pedals here though are all controlling the various different instances, the various different scenes of eCam that are sharing different content that we want to put up onto this screen. This is a 65-inch monitor, LG. I wasn't particularly fussy about the brand. I don't need to care about all of the features. That is actually, I suppose, a named brand. I've got some other monitors that are I'd never actually heard of, but there we go. So that is these pedals down here. So there's 3 of those down on the floor over here. Then over this side, we've also got another 55-inch screen, and this one is in vertical format. Again, it is running on a Mac Mini, which is just behind the wall here. And then this one also has a pedal, and actually this is just Keynote. I'm not using eCam or anything like that on this particular computer. It's just Keynote running as a full screen presentation. And once again, normally cropped in with my foot out of view, we can sort of scroll through whatever slides are going to come up on here in theory. He says pressing the button and nothing happening. Let me try that again. It should do. Anyway, so the point is though that this is to change the content which is showing up on this screen. Now, I had hoped to just pull up my continuity camera on my phone, but for some reason it's just playing a little bit funny today. So what I'll do is, just to show you kind of the other side of the camera, I'm going to just pull out a different camera in a moment. But first of all, let's talk about the background, what I did here. So this here, obviously people often ask about the lighting. This is actually kind of like, if you imagine a box, so it's about a foot deep, 30 centimeters deep, and then this is 60 centimeters wide, and it goes 2.4 meters up to to the ceiling. Now these things on the front are just sort of preformed molded foam, molded plastic on the front, but then I built the boxes in the back. And if you imagine that the boxes, you know, like from the side looks like that, well, inside actually I've put the back going up at an angle, and then it's all painted that same neutral grey colour, or 25% grey, that we paint the walls to reflect the light. And so that's how you get a not quite uniform all the way up, but at least you see the light coming out from the light which is down in the bottom there, and you see it coming through here. There's also, this is the same sort of stuff, so same material as these, just painted a different colour. And then I've got a couple of long lights that are down at the bottom, and they've actually got this, they've actually got a sort of mechanical rolling glass tube. I don't know if I can even show you this without breaking them. Let me have a look. Let me try. So I don't know if you can see, but there is literally a glass tube here that is rotating, and because it's not a completely uniform glass tube, it's got sort of little sort of bumps and dimples in it, for want of a better word, and as that's rotating, that's what's giving this effect where the light is looking like it's you know, kind of shimmering or something like that. It was a complete experiment. I didn't go out looking for it, but I was just looking for interesting lights for down there, and those popped up, so I thought I'll give them a go. So that is what's giving this bit of a lighting texture to the back wall. I think I probably got the wrong colour of grey here, to be fair, because I bought spray paint to make this easier rather than doing it with a paintbrush, but I think it's a little bit dark, so I might well change that and lighten it up to be more like the colour of the inside. The side walls, there is a little bit unfinished here, so these curtains are actually the curtains that were just in this place when I moved into it. So I'm going to sort of block that off. Just didn't have time before the event, but there is some sort of similar wood paneling that's going to go in here. Apart from the light in here and the light down at the bottom, there's no other sort of feature lighting. So I've got a load of other lights to add in that are going to add a little bit more accents to the, or a bit more accent lighting, I should say, to, you know, all the different features of the set. But actually, as it is, obviously, hopefully you can see me perfectly well, so that's the main thing. And these are just a combination of this, although it looks like wood, sorry to spoil the illusion, it is a kind of molded plastic wood effect. This is again a sort of fascia that you can sort of panel whole walls with this, but I've just used one strip of it. Same with these, they're the same kind of things that you've probably seen, no doubt, in many other sort of YouTube sets. It's become a bit of a cliche, to be honest, but it did the job. And then this is foam padding. Now, one of the things I was conscious about, foam insulation for acoustic sound insulation, all just basically spray foamed onto the backing. So this entire panel here, oh, and by the way, this is the technically the front door. So what I'm going to do is the same thing as I did up in my studio upstairs, where I've got a huge big double sliding door there, glass pane door. And I basically just added this sort of fascia onto a sliding frame in front of the door. So it means that I can slide it to completely cut out the light. And I'm going to do the same sort of thing here. So basically, when you're in this room, there'll be three sides which are completely sort of blocked off. So having something that slides here to block that off. And you may say, well, what's the point when, you know, the stage area is over here? Well, the idea when building this studio is that I was also conscious about different ways that I might want to actually use it. So obviously this is a standing studio that I'm using in exactly the way that I've just sort of outlined. But actually this wall over here is also going to be my podcast set. So I've been talking about this. It's almost like if I drank alcohol, it would be a good drinking game. And I would be continuously drunk, me talking about resurrecting my my podcast. But this area over here, I've got a sort of an armchair, easy chair type thing that's going to go here, and then I'm going to actually film my podcast from here. And the point of that is there'll be this sort of back wall here. There'll be that extra little feature similar to this to finish it off in that side, and then we'll have a screen that's sort of vertical. So imagine me sitting down. This would be a much better height to have, you know, on-screen graphics and things like that. So this will ultimately be the podcast set. Now this screen over here can also be considered to be, you know, almost another set as well. So I've got some ideas for some other sort of content that I want to do, where I want to be maybe sitting down but still have some information on the screen behind me. Now this desk that I've got over here is actually just on wheels. Now at the moment it's just as I bought it, but I bought it just because it's kind of a fairly large sturdy desk with wheels. But ultimately what I'll be doing is I will be sort of cladding this, and I wonder if I can show you by switching to a different camera. Let's just see. There we go. Here, if you see the desk here, it's all a bit of a mess of cables at the moment, no cable management going on, but ultimately this will have a sort of back and sides using a similar material to the materials in the rest of the studio, and so this will all be sort of blocked off. So actually, if it is in shot, then it's going to look a lot more in keeping rather than just a desk like this. So imagine having that desk then in front of this wall. It would be more of a sort of desk setup with a sort of matching background, if you like. But actually, during the event that I ran recently, the point was that this was kind of actually out of shot. So when I was zoomed in, as I say, I'm a bit more zoomed out than normal, then this was completely out of shot. The other thing that I added into the setup then for this event that I ran recently was this one. So this is a Dell touchscreen monitor, and I've got to say, I saw Nick Nimmin had one of these. If you don't know Nick Nimmin and you're doing anything on YouTube, you should definitely follow him. But this was something that I saw him using for about a year, 2 years, something like that. And I thought, yeah, I should probably get one of those at some point. I've got to say, it's an absolute game changer, because what it means is, if you're doing things standing up and you want to be able to control everything, obviously we control a lot with our feet, so that's great. But also we can control with Stream Decks here, but there's certain things that you can't really do with Stream Decks that you might want to do during a live event, such as if you want to go and just sort of tap on somebody's name on Zoom and request them to unmute, or you want to tap on someone's name to unmute, or you want to just go through and tap on comments to bring comments up on the screen. This allows you to do that because it's just a touchscreen. So it works really well with Ecamm. I've left a link to it down in the description, by the way, but it works really well with Ecamm. It means you can just control everything touchscreen. So basically during the event, then this was down here. It just comes with this stand, by the way, so it's like up like that, but you can just basically fold it down and make it sort of flat screen. So I basically, for the event, I was running everything pretty much from the foot pedals, but then I also had this in front of me, and then the touchscreen just here, just sort of slightly out of view. So imagine this being a little bit more zoomed in, that pushed out of the way. It meant that it was out of view. So yeah, it worked really well for the purpose that it was intended. As I say, this was the first time that I ran through an event in this studio space. The one thing that I kind of regretted was I was using the feature of the Mac that allows you to just sort of seamlessly move your mouse from one computer to the next. But apart from the monitor there, the monitors on either side, I've also got two in front of me, and I also had another one at that point that was running from one of the other computers as well. And at some point I had a slight audio issue, and trying to troubleshoot that and then losing the mouse was not fun. So I'm going to add in just basically separate keyboard and mouse for each computer to be short in future. Just moving on to the other side, then I will get to the comments, by the way. This is obviously, it's the same sort of thing as on the other side, using that fascia board in the back here. Same sort of wood panel there. Again, there's a sort of fill-in to go on this side, and then I've also got something to block in from that side as well. So basically, as I say, the set will just be completely closed in as I get it finished. So with that said, let me just go over to some comments. I will then turn the camera around and show you the other side as well. But what we can do is I can show you that I can just scroll through my chat now, and basically this Dell monitor, now that I've experienced it, I'm also going to get another one for upstairs in my desk studio, and I'm going to get a second one for down here. So basically both computers, when I've got this desk all sort of boxed in as I intend to do it, still make it mobile, but what will happen is the back will be slightly higher than this monitor, and there'll be two of these monitors, one for each of the computers. But let me just go back over to the comments, and I'll see where we are. And it's just so nice to be able to tap a comment and it pop up on screen. Hey Rich, great to see you. Hey George as well, fantastic to see you here. Piqued your interest with this studio tour. I'm glad to hear it, Stephen. Yeah, it's just trying something different. I should say, I sent a newsletter out about kind of talking about the studio a little bit yesterday. It's definitely worth noting that this could be considered overkill. I made the point in the newsletter that, you know, the whole idea of, you know, using Ecamm with even just a regular webcam a decent microphone and everything that Ecamm can do. Ecamm for me still is the thing that's doing all of the heavy lifting, really. And although I've just added in a few extra screens and things like that, it's still just for a different way that I wanted to deliver content. But I would say that, you know, you don't need to go to extremes. But I'm glad you find it interesting. Hey, Daniel, great to see you. Got to say, as you know, your studio for your trainings was definitely partly an inspiration for doing this. I'd already got it on the cards to do it, but because I'd found the property. But yeah, seeing yours gave me lots of food for thought. So great to see you here, and yeah, thanks for the inspiration. Hey, Brandy Joe, I know that you were at the Freedom Formula event and have obviously in the Academy VIP, we've been talking about this for a long time, so great to see you as well. I can probably actually, given that you all know this is here, I can actually lift it up a little bit and make it a bit easier to reach. Loving the black panel towers. You just said 5 Stream Deck pedals. I'm going to add another 2. One of the things that I learned from the event is you suddenly realise like what's missing when you sort of go to find these little, you know, we both talk about friction a lot, you know, where the friction points are. And what I found with the Stream Deck pedals is like having one pedal over here is definitely fine, because all I'm doing on this screen is I'm just changing what is up on this particular screen. So it's just a case of scrolling through Keynote essentially. Now this one definitely does need the 3 pedals down here that are just out of view, because what I need to do is I've got to have one pedal that is to go to my Keynote scene and then scroll forwards and backwards through the slides. So that's basically one pedal, 3 buttons. Then the other one is for switching between different scenes in Ecamm for things like Zoom, for what's the thing called? Stream Alive, and you know, any other screen shares that I want. And then the third one then is to control different things related to that. You know, advancing to the next Stream Alive element, for example, whatever we call them. So there's definitely 3 required here. But what I found is in the middle, having just one Stream Deck, a pedal that is basically to go back to my sort of Keynote scene in Ecamm that's bringing up my Keynote overlays, and then forwards and backwards. I did feel that I needed another couple in there for even just things like, you know, going to my comment scene. This is obviously a comment scene. I've got another one that is active speaker, so I can pull up the active speaker. So I'm thinking actually another 2 Stream Deck pedals in front of me is what I'll end up settling on, just so that I don't need to use a physical Stream Deck. But yeah, so I guess 7 is the magic number in terms of Stream Decks required, or at least that I'm doing. Yeah, you can't do shoes in house, shoes inside in Thailand. So yeah, I've got the socks on today. Thanks, Daniel. Great to obviously, as I mentioned, it's you were definitely an inspiration for this, and leading the field as always. Hey, Kath, great to see you as well from Australia, tuning in. What is the length and depth of the studio? So in meters, it's 4 meters. Actually, is it 4 meters or? Yeah, just over 4 meters, and then it's about 6 meters, 6.5 meters long. So whatever that is in feet, I use for that calculation. It's about, I guess, is about 15 foot by 20 foot, something like that. I can't remember exactly what the conversion is, but yeah, that's the sort of the size of it. If I'm using the Verge Max, what stands or tripods are you using for them? So I had this thing with the Verge Max are these great new lights that have come out, and I think they're kind of like just my go-to recommendation now. And with the Elgato Prompter XL coming out, like my gear list that I'm going to be recommending to people from now is basically the Amaran Verge Max lights, which I'll show you in a minute. The point about them is I always felt like we had to choose previously between and if I just get one of these out, these are the smaller Amaran Verge, these are the Amaran Verge, which is just flat panels. Sorry, it's small, I'll say traditional flat panels, and I always felt like with lighting, you had these compact lights which were sort of, you know, could be desk mounted, and you either had to make the choice. Did you want something that was kind of convenient, desk mounted, but small relatively, or did you want to have like huge big soft boxes that, although, you know, the the face area was large. Also, the depth was usually bigger than the diameter. And the reason why you have a large light like that is because the smaller the point source of light, or smaller the source of light, the harsher it's going to be, when it's shining on you. So the reason why we have these big diffused softboxes is to give a much more sort of even and a larger light source. So it gives a softer light, basically. So we had to make that trade-off. Well, the Amaran Verge Max, which, as I say, I'll show you in a minute, basically 2-foot softboxes, 60 centimeters. And what that means is, but they're the same thickness as this. So big round panel lights. And what that means is this is just basically now my go-to recommendation. If somebody's asking me, what lights, what camera and so on should I get for for my setup, lighting is definitely Amaran Verge Max are the way to go. These ones, by the way, I haven't put them in, but these will ultimately go up here out of shot to add a little bit of backlighting to give it a bit of separation from the background. Not such a major issue, but there's lots of extra sort of lighting elements to add in, and this is one. But the Amaran Verge Max, though, are really great. And then with the Elgato Prompter XL coming out, I always had this thing about the Elgato Prompter. It's great, it's all in one, it's convenient, but it is too small compared to the 12-inch prompter I had previously. So it always felt like a downsizing for me, and I just never got, I never did it on my main computer. But now that Elgato have brought out the Elgato Prompter XL, which it was what I asked when it came out. I said, please make an XL, and they did. So that one is now 15 inches, I think. So I'll definitely be adding one of those upstairs and another one downstairs as well. So that would be my recommendation there. But let me just go, because I digress, to the Amaran Verge Max lights. And let me just change the scene a second. And again, apologies for the camera. What I'm actually using here is I'm literally... Here you go. Here's my new handheld camera. It is a Sony ZV-E10 in an Elgato Prompter. So nice handheld. But for some reason my continuity camera isn't working. So let me just take this back. This is what is on my back wall currently, and I've basically got the Amaran Verge there, and you can see how thin it is. And then I've also got another one over on the other side. Now, when I started planning this studio out, I mean, I didn't actually know exactly how many lights I was going to need, but I anticipated that I would need more than just 2. But I was really surprised actually by the power of these, because as you can see, the only light apart from these 3 lights, like one in either side and this stuff here, the only other light in this room is 2 of those Amaran Verge Max, and I think it's giving plenty of light. There's no issue. I mean, part of that is the camera as well. I'm using the OBSBot Tail 2, but yeah, they are giving plenty of light out. But to answer your question, Gary, as to what am I supporting them with, there is an attachment that you can get for the Verge Max, which is basically allows you to attach them onto just any lighting spigot. So whatever stand you want to attach them to, you can attach them to that. But I couldn't actually get those in Thailand. So they do come with a desk mount. So basically you can see that I've got a couple of cupboards which I'd got anyway for just putting stuff in. Excuse the mess. I'm still in the process of arranging it all. But basically the lighting stands are just clamped on. Whoops. They're just clamped on to these cupboards, and I've basically got one on either side. They are on full power, 5600 Kelvin, but just at 100%. But that is providing all of the lighting. Now here you can see that I've got the OBSBot Tail 2. Now this is also, although it's not on at the moment, it's also on a 4-foot slider. You'll find a link to this in the description as well. But what a slider does is basically it just automatically moves sort of backwards and forwards, and you can change the, how far it moves. You can choose the direction, and you can also have it so that if you've got just a fixed camera, when the camera's on it, you can have it so that it will sort of pan round as well. So as it's moving backwards and forwards, it's also sort of locking onto a particular shot. Well, obviously, because this camera has got built-in tracking, you kind of don't really need to do that. So this one just stays, the ball head here stays completely still. But as it's moving backwards and forwards, then this is obviously, as you can see, the camera itself is still pointing at me all of the time because it's set to track me basically. So there you can see the camera's just sort of turning, and it's doing that of its own accord using the sort of built-in AI tracking. Now the reason why I added this in, and it's obviously it's quite large, it's 4 foot long. The reason that I I added that in is because what I wanted to do is have a little bit more sort of dynamic shot going on, and the whole point of this as well was to try to do a sort of one-man show basically, but have a little bit more production value to it, the sort of thing that you might expect to have more of a crew. Now what it does is, if it was on and set up properly, which I haven't done for today, I'm going to do a separate videos on all the different components, by the way, but the point is that like there would be a really sort of gentle panning shot to this, so that as I'm just sort of standing in the center stage, then it's just sort of panning backwards and forwards gently. So that's the idea behind that, and why I added that particular element in. The other thing, going through and thinking about, things that I would do differently as well, or things that I want to change. I originally was going to have another screen down here that would be sort of in landscape format, but actually what I found is, although I've got the chat down here, and so if I want to come and change, scroll through and see what's going on in the chat, I can certainly do that down here. However, it's useful to be able to see the chat sort of streaming. Now what I've got up on these two screens here is, at the moment we've got like just the output, so I can see what you're seeing basically, and then this one is a Zoom instance, so this is where I can see the Zoom gallery, and if we've got more people on, then I'll be able to see that gallery in there. But having and what I did during the recent event was I also had the chat sort of down the side, but when the chat's quite small and you're quite far away, with my eyes, it was a bit difficult to see. So having just a single vertical monitor down here, and when I say monitor, I'm talking like 43-inch or something like that, just to be able to see the full scrolling chat, is something that I'm going to add in. The other thing, which was here during the event, but I've taken it out, I basically used my monitor from upstairs, which is a 43-inch, and that was on this wall. So I'm going to permanently mount one on that wall, because the reason why that one is required is because I mentioned that whatever's going up on this screen is sort of passing through Ecamm. So what that means is I want to be able to have a 4K screen over there that I can have my keynote slides, the thing that I'm sharing, the active speaker, to make sure that they're ready to be on screen. Whatever else I'm wanting to put up on here. I've also got to use Zoom tiles, so that's where you can create your own custom gallery in from the Zoom participants. So instead of just putting the the regular gallery up, you can put a stylized one in there, bring it in through Ecamm, and then put that up on the screen. But to be able to have a monitor there, which is just kind of for me to be able to see the content that is being queued up to come over here, is something that's useful. So as I say, for the event, I just bought my monitor from upstairs, but I'm going to get a sort of wall mounting and fit one permanently there. So in terms of like extra screens that need to be added in, it's basically a screen on the wall over there, a vertical screen down for the chat. There's also a couple of extra cameras. So at the moment, I'm basically using the OBSBot tail that I've got here, and then as I've shown, I'm using this one, just the ZV-E10 in my prompter. It's kind of like my secondary camera from upstairs actually, but I've just used it down here because while I've been setting up, I've been doing some calls down here, so it means that I've got something that I can sit at this desk and use this one. But I have got a couple of other OBSBots that I'm going to add in to add a couple of extra camera angles. Certainly when I do my podcast, which as I say will be over in this section here, then I'm not going to want to rely on the Tail 2 which is there, which first of all is too high, so I will have a separate camera just down at the bottom, lower level here, just to get the better shot, and it'll be a sort of permanently fixed camera, and that one will be on the probably the new Prompter XL actually, just because of the size and the distance of it. And so that is where I'll run that from. But then also having a couple of extra camera angles in here, like a camera angle over at the back there to get a sort of rear shot when I'm doing things from there as well. So that is the that is where I'm sorry, I've just saw Rich's comment there. That is where I'm sort of heading to with this studio. Let me just go to that comment. One day your shiny noggin will explode trying to keep all of this straight. I've got to say that there was obviously I mentioned in my newsletter, in case you read that, but there was a couple of learning experiences in here with it. Now, the first one was there was just a couple of glitches with audio. So I started off doing my event and I was actually using the Rode Interview Pro wireless, just linked directly to the Rodecaster. I should say that audio at the moment is running through the Rodecaster Duo. down here, and then the video is actually running through the Rodecaster video. The reason for that is because it means that everything can come through here first of all, but then it's also being transmitted over via NDI, I should say. But then I can also access it from upstairs, and it just keeps everything sort of separate from any one computer. So at the moment I've just got two cameras coming in here, but this will allow me to bring in my other NDI cameras as well. So it was a new feature that was added into the Rodecaster video where it can both receive NDI video, but also it can transmit its signal over NDI as well. So that means that I can use this same switcher, and potentially it can be picked up by this computer over here, but also my second one. Technically, you can do all that in Ecamm anyway, because you can have individual NDI feeds picked up by that. But I just wanted to keep that all separate into that computer, and then basically it's just one feed coming into Ecamm for this sort of event. Not, as I say, not for my desk studio upstairs. But the camera as well that I'm speaking on at the moment, this is the OBSBot Tail 2, and that's got a great feature which is power over Ethernet. So it means that there's basically just one cable going into that, and that is the power, and it's the Ethernet. And so then here, just this one cable dangling down, and this is going through into a Ethernet switch. So that can allow me to add in just wired up to 10 devices, up to 10 cameras, or 10 devices, I should say. So, for example, at the moment I've got two computers plugged into it. I've got the Rodecaster video as well plugged into it, and then I've got this one camera, and then I've got another sort of few slots available for other cameras. So when I add those extra cameras in here, they'll basically all come through this Ethernet switch, and then that's linked to my main router upstairs. So that is what we're up to with that. So let's have a look here at these comments. Yes, the walls are angled, so the back of it is basically kind of 6 meters at the front, but then we're kind of 4 meters at the back. So the walls do angle in slightly. And the reason for that is because I wanted it to be that, from that one single camera angle, I could be over here, and it's not going to be too much of a, a side angle. It's kind of getting the, getting me in shot with the screen over here. But again, also, if I've got a set up over here for my podcast or whatever, then it means I've got a better use of the camera angle. So yeah, they are definitely angled in, just to make it more usable. The other thing is thinking about the lighting as well. I was conscious of wanting to make sure that we didn't get too much glare off these. So I think that's pretty much, you're not seeing the direct glare off the light. So I was just conscious about camera angles with that. So I wanted to angle it, but just had to be careful about not angling it too much so that you just got a direct reflection over there. Same with this one as well. There's no direct reflection on this screen from any of the lights. But yeah, I was really surprised though, as I mentioned, about the Amaran Verge Max, just two lights being more than enough actually to light everything up. So yeah, if you've got any other questions about the setup, let me know. I am going to be doing a workshop, which is going to be next, I guess, Monday evening US time. But let me think what time it is. I think the clocks change in America this weekend, and the clocks never change here, so I just do things at the same time for me all the time. But it's going to be 6 p.m. on Monday. I'm doing a full workshop, which is actually not about the studio in particular, although we will talk about the studio, but it's about the entire event. So the Freedom Formula event was about, it was a 3-day launch event effectively for a program that's just kicking off next week as well, called Built from the Inside Out. And the Freedom Formula was all about, how you can build an online business using video that gives you the 4 pillars of freedom. And the 4 pillars being, financial freedom, time freedom, but also location freedom and mental freedom. And it's something that I've seen a lot with people that I'm coaching, where they are looking to take maybe an outwardly very successful business online. There's this thing of, things on paper can look very successful. You can have, a thriving business, but sometimes, that comes with a cost. And it might be that it's very lucrative and financially successful, but there may be this hidden cost of maybe there's a lot of mental stress and strain associated with it. And then maybe also, actually don't have that freedom of movement that you want. There's somebody that I work with who said, they can't wait till they finally retire and then they can go and live in this dream location that they've always wanted to live in. in. So we often find ourselves in this situation where we're lacking actually one of those 4 pillars of freedom, and without all 4, you don't have that true sense of freedom. And that was what the event was all about, really. It was just sort of introducing how you can build a business online that can do that, but also how, in fact, it's kind of up here. I should probably just use this slide. I won't go into a full demo of the actual content itself, but it was this the sort of the performance triangle. So when you're trying to do anything, build an online business towards generating your freedom, there are these different elements that you need to have. You need to have the systems, the tools, the workflows, and the structure, and that is basically all the things that I've been creating for the past however many years. Creating the courses and processes and giving people guides and frameworks and all of this kind of stuff. But it's very much just the tools, the workflows, the structure, the knowledge. But there's another aspect though, which is this state, and this is the energy, the focus, and the clarity, because sometimes you've got all of the tools that you need, but if you don't have the right amount of time to dedicate to it, you're not able to focus, or you're not focusing on the right things, then sometimes it can feel like you're kind of just spinning wheels and not actually making any progress, or it can seem like too big a mountain to climb because you feel overwhelmed with all the different things that you have to do. So that is the kind of the state. And then the third one, which is probably not in this slide, actually, it's probably on a later slide, but the next one is self, and this is the journey that I've been on over the past year, really, which is getting to a better understanding of our inner workings and why we procrastinate, for example, talking to myself here, why I procrastinate, why I have this anxiety around not achieving my full potential, or people see things that are outwardly being very productive, but on the inside it's like, well, I know it could have been so much more. And I always say that procrastination has got nothing to do with what anyone else thinks. It's got nothing to do with how you are performing compared to everyone else. The cost of procrastination to ourselves is basically the gap between what we actually achieve and what we know we're capable of, because sometimes it's very obvious like where we could have done so much better, not because of just we could have tried harder, but just because there were things that we just didn't do, or whatever. So the thing that I've been on over the past year, really, I guess, or throughout this year at least, is looking at using AI to get a better understanding of myself and my inner working, to be able to then use AI as a tool to help me harness my potentially previously negative character traits and harness them for good, and help me get past that procrastination. And that was the kind of the concept behind the event. And it was 3 days, 1 day talking about systems, 1 day talking about state, and 1 day talking about self. And it was called the Freedom Formula because there are 5 core ingredients, of which those are 3. The other ingredients being support and strategy, having a very clearly defined strategy. That was essentially an event in itself. Each session was 2 or 3 hours long, but then it was kind of also introducing this program built from the inside out, which is about actually taking all of those elements, the 3 there and those other 5, the strategy and the support, and over the next 3 months then implementing those into launching an online business. And that basically is becoming will become my sort of flagship program. And I've done a bit of restructuring over the past few months of how everything is going to be delivered, and where my different product offerings are, and streamlining them a little bit. But a big part of that going forward is going to be live events, which is coming from here. Another question then. Let me see. Hey there, how is the Amaranth lights powered? They've got a USB-C connection on the back of them. I'm not sure exactly the lights themselves are 60 watts, so that's the actual power of them. But they've just got a brick, so the USB-C on the back, and then they come with a power brick that is just plugged into an outlet. They can be controlled by Stream Deck though, so if you have multiple Amaranth lights, you can set up different scenes. You can have it where you press a button and it will just set them all to different levels that you've sort of predefined. So for some of the other accent lighting, when I started planning out this studio, one of the things that I looked at was the idea of using DMX lighting control. Now, actually, these ones down here, technically, can be controlled with DMX. DMX is a standard for controlling lights. The connectors on them are pretty much the same as the XLR connectors that you would be familiar with microphones. You can get 5-pin instead of 3-pin for those as well. But basically, DMX is this standard, and what it means is you could have multiple different types of lights and then have them all cabled bundled into a central control center, and then you can control them all from one single piece of software. So it means that you can kind of create different scenes with all kinds of different types of light. And so at one point I'd looked at going down that route, but I think I probably overestimated at that time the requirement. And so thinking like, actually these two Amarans are working perfectly well for this. When I start doing my podcast, I will have some additional lighting that will be specific to that. And so I'm thinking, well, if I just use Amaran for, some of the other feature lighting and things like that as well, then it'll mean that I'll just be able to have specific scenes set up on Stream Deck, press a button, and all of the lighting will change as required. These are, as I say, they're 60 watt. They've just got a couple of dials on the front, so you can change them from there as well. You can change the color, so we can make it a really from 2700 Kelvin up to 65. So I'm normally on 56 Kelvin, and then obviously just sort of take it up and down as you need it. So these are on 100% basically. 100% too harsh for close up on your desk, but certainly if you're standing a little bit further back, then it's going to give you a nice sort of even light, and it's not too harsh. So yeah, highly recommend the Amaran though. And the other thing about them is usually there's a kind of price to pay, isn't there? Like when when there's something that feels like a really great solution. But the other thing about these is I think they're $250, something like that. I bought these in Thailand, so it's not a direct exchange rate, but I think on Amazon, and I've left a link to them in the description, by the way. I think they're about $250. Well, compared to what I'm using upstairs in my studio, Nanlite Forza 60, I think they were more than that for just the light, and then the softbox was extra as well. So to have these flat panel lights, which take up, virtually, no space at all, they are, whoops, let me point it in the right direction. You can see if I just sort of turn it sideways, it's literally, just a tiny wafer thin panel. It's so ridiculously thin, and somehow the size of it makes the thinness seem even more accentuated. It comes with this desk stand as well, so you can kind of like move it round. There's an arm out on the top. So yeah, I went down to set up a studio in Bangkok for a friend of mine, and yeah, this was just the obvious choice, because you've just got a desk, two of these on either side, one of these on either side I should say, and then the Elgato prompter in the middle. This was plugged into just a Mac Mini for the content that he was creating, or the things that he was using it for. It really does make the idea of showing up on video now. I keep saying this, but it's the business suit, isn't it? It's what we used to spend money on previously when we were meeting people face to face. I have had to invest in some trousers, some pants, because yeah, when you're behind a desk, you can wear shorts, wear whatever you want. So yeah, but you can really get a decent studio setup for less than the cost of a business suit. And sometimes when people are looking at these slight differences in cost between some of these things, but if you think two Amaran Verge Max, that's like about $500. Think about a Stream Deck XL, maybe that's another $300. I think they are at the moment, 300, something like that. And then just add in a decent microphone and like something like the Shure MV7, the Rode PodMic USB. By the way, the reason why I recommend those ones so often, because they've both got this common trait, which is they're both USB microphones, but they also have the XLR connection as well. And when I started on YouTube, I bought the Shure MV7, and it was because it was the sort of first investment I was making. I wanted to be able to plug it in over USB, but I knew that at some point I might add in a Rodecaster or a mixer at some point further down the line, and that gave me that ability to do that. So that's why I kind of recommend those. But the other microphones are available, and then just a decent camera. And the thing about cameras is, when I was looking to upgrade my 10-year-old Canon EOS 60D, which is what I started with, I had it, it worked. I went with a Sony ZV-E10 with a Sigma, actually 30mm lens, which was the right size, or the right focal length for my particular setup and what I was looking to achieve with it. But that's kind of like, once you've got the camera and the lens, it's about $1,000. The thing that's great now is there are so many great relatively low-cost webcam options. Like all of the OBSBot range are great. I'm using the Tail 2, which, okay, that is like a $1,000 plus camera. But if you look at something like the Tiny 2 or the Meet 2 from OBSBot, those are great cameras, and they range from like less than $100. So you're going to get a great image out of those. YOLO Live as well have just bought out a I guess a sort of competitors to some of the OBS as well, which by all accounts seems to be really good. And there are just so many great cameras. The other one that is really great, if you are looking for something that it might be a sort of mobile choice as well, is this, the the Osmo Pocket 2. And it's on a massive stand at the moment, but it's just that big. But this one, you can plug it into the computer and use it as a webcam as well. And then you've got you know, a camera that you can take out and about with you as well if you want to create that content. This is what I kind of film the family with and everything like that. So yeah, there are some great camera options, and yeah, to be able to have a full sort of studio setup for, as I say, you know, just over $1,000, something like that, you can really have a huge impact with that. Hey Gabe, great to see you here. Thanks very much. I'm glad you like the studio. Don't forget BFDM is coming up. What's BFDM? Oh, Black Friday. Yes, yep. So definitely wait for that. Always some good deals around that. We have the e-commerce platform in Southeast Asia is called Lazada. So we don't have Amazon, like a Thai Amazon as such, although I think that might be, I've got this theory that this is some sort of Thai regulatory thing that they don't want to let them in because they want to make sure that Lazada's still good. But what Amazon have done is basically I can order for anything from the Amazon US store and it's free shipping to Thailand. So go figure. That's pretty amazing that I can just order stuff from Amazon US and free shipping. You still have to pay import tax on many things, obviously, but still, it's works out really well. But I digress. We have this e-commerce platform here called Lazada, and they always have this like end of month sale and a mid-month sale. So whatever the month is, if it's like the 10th month, then on the 10th of the 10th, they'll always have a sale, or the 5/5, 4/4, and so on. So they always have these decent sales. So like the Amaran Verge Max, for example, they were I think 10,000 baht was the regular price here, but I got it on one of those, end of month sales or whatever, and they were 8,000. So there's usually like substantial discounts. So I always just wait till the end of the month and always feel like I've got a good deal, albeit on the Thai price, which is usually a little bit inflated. But there you go. So let me just come over here. You see, this is why I need my comment seen on a foot pedal, isn't it? I've got to invest in 2 new foot pedals. Yeah. Well, there you go. So yeah, it's maybe not a $99 suit, but you can certainly get a good setup for I would say less than the cost of an Armani suit. I was saying about this thing in my newsletter as well. The investment that I've made in here, it's hard to kind of pinpoint exactly the total cost of this actual set because I've used lots of bits that I already had. There's certain things like obviously the computers. I did get a new Mac Mini Pro. I've got an existing Mac Mini that is running that screen over here. The computer that's running this screen is actually my MacBook Pro, my sort of daily drive, if you like. That's what's running this screen and some of the other things. This computer that's running actually the live stream at the moment, though, is a Mac Mini Pro. So it's the M4 Mac Mini Pro. That's what's running that. But what I mentioned in the newsletter was, yeah, although I say, you can get a decent studio setup for, the cost of a business suit, this probably did cost a little bit more than that. But what I equated it to was, if you think about what I was ultimately trying to do with this, is just give me somewhere that gave me that sort of more like an in-person feel of, standing on a stage in front of people. And if you compare it to how much it costs to hire out a, hotel conference venue or whatever for a weekend, this is all certainly cost less than that. I've looked into, I'm probably going to be doing some events in Singapore a little bit later in the earlier next year, I should say, and Dubai, not to mention America later on next year as well. And yeah, just looking at the cost of venues and so on for in-person events, it certainly quickly adds up, even taking out of the fact the travel. And so to be able to have somewhere that gives you that slightly more in-person feel is something that I was looking to do with this. So I feel like it's certainly been a worthwhile investment from that point of view. Any further questions? We'll keep this one a little bit short, or just nearly an hour for my first live stream back. I am going to be back next week as well, doing a live stream, and we'll return to my regular weekly flow from here. I'll probably be back upstairs in my usual studio then next week, because it'll be more kind of like, you know, my usual tutorial based live streams. For anyone watching on the replay, oh, so Taylor, hey, great to see you, Taylor, in Zoom. Let me bring that up. What Kajabi theme do I recommend? So there is there's two different themes to think about actually with Kajabi. First of all, there is the theme for your main website, and I think the one that I use is called Rise, but I've heavily sort of modified it. But they're all good really. It's a case of which one do you like the look of. Then when it comes to your actual courses, you've got a theme that you choose for that. Oh, you can choose a separate theme for landing pages as well. I just design all of my landing pages from scratch, so I've kind of created my own kind of thing there really. But then you've got a different theme for the actual way that your courses appear. Now, the original theme that Kajabi had, like when it first started, was it basically had a sidebar and then your course content within that, and you could sort of navigate it. But then at some point, and I forget, you have to excuse me, I forget what they are, but there's Premiere and Momentum, I think, and I can't remember which one was first. My hunch is to say Premiere because it's first, but it might not be. It might be the other one. But basically, the default theme that Kajabi gives you now, you can still have that old theme. The default theme now is where, as you go into a course, you've just got a header at the top, and you've got all the sort of modules down below, and then you kind of either move through them sequentially or you can click into them. Now, I kind of just, when I started using Kajabi, I just started using that theme because it was kind of the default theme that it gave us. So I just started going through and using that. But then at some point, somebody who knows a lot more about learning design, in fact, somebody who was on the stream just earlier, I don't know if you're still here at all, but Kath Ellis, she's a learning design expert. And it was feedback from Kath and also one of our other academy members, you know, where it got me thinking about, you know, I've got to confess, I'd never really thought about like accessibility so much of you know, of training. But one of the things was just better ways to sort of navigate. And in fact, it was Kath that recommended to me there is a theme that you can get called Gamify Pro, and I'll send a link to you for it, Taylor. But it's a third-party theme that you buy, and I think it's $400, but you pay once and then you can use it across any of your courses. And if you've done my Ecamm Live Masterclass, that's the theme that I use for that. And what is different about it is it kind of reverts back to that original style of theme that Kajabi used to use, which you can still access, where you've got a sidebar, but it just adds in a load more new features. And some of the features that I like in it are you can, for example, you know, as people go through their course, when they reach certain milestones, it can trigger events. So, you know, sending them out a certificate, or sending them out just a little thing to say, you know, you've got this particular badge, and it will show display badges on there as to, you know, the milestones that they've passed or the progress that they've made. But what I also found is that I could also then use that same theme, and if you've done any of my events like the Freedom Formula, the Digital Stage Blueprint this time last year, or the Digital Stage Summit, I've actually used the Gamify Pro template within Kajabi to actually create my own event portal. So that means that when people go in, and what it can also do is dynamically change the content in there based on offers within Kajabi that people have bought. So it means that, you know, when you go into something like the Freedom Formula, it's a free event, but you can buy a replay pass, for example, If you haven't bought the replay pass, then there'll be a little ad for that in the sidebar, but then as soon as somebody purchases it, then that ad just disappears, and in its place comes, how to access the VIP content and all of those kind of things. So I found that Gamify Pro has been a really great template, and I like the added functions that it gives. Actually, speaking of the VIP pass, I meant to talk about the workshop that I'm going to be doing on Monday, and I realised I kind of went off track, waffling as I usually do. This is why I was talking about the event previously as being this was the focus of the event, but the workshop that I'm doing on Monday is all about how I put the event together, why I put it together, and the sort of planning, the promotion. So I did run some ads for this as well, so I'll be talking about those, the Facebook ads, and how that went. And as I say, the planning and promotion of it, and the preparation and all the production and everything that went into it as well. So if you're interested in that, you'll find a link to that down in the description. It is $47 for that workshop. It's basically you're buying the VIP pass for the event, so you get access to the workshop and the replay, but you would also get access to the previous replays of the event as well. If you're already an Academy member and you didn't know, you've already got access to that as well. If you haven't found it yet, just drop me a message. But with that said, and with us being up to an hour, let's just see if there is anything else that I've missed here. Just quickly, Stephen just upgraded to M4 Pro with 64 and 1 terabyte plus a new 3 gigabit fiber connection. You should be very happy then. Yes, particularly, we won't have to worry about bandwidth anytime soon with that. The Mac Minis are great, the M4 Pro Minis. As well. And you're welcome. Great to see you here as always, Stephen. So with that said, thanks everyone for popping in. And sorry I've left it so long before making a return. I'll see you all this time next week as well. If you're watching on the replay and you've got any questions about anything you've seen, just drop them into the comments or drop me an email as well. And I look forward to seeing you all very soon. Now, normally I have a nice little outro here, but because it's all on my other computer, I don't have my usual outro text, so my outro scene. So it's just going to be a very quick bye-bye. But what I should probably say is I'll leave a video over here that is relevant for those watching on the replay, and I'll probably get around to doing that sometime a little bit later today. All right, take care for now, and I'll see you all next time.